Armada Book 7 Chapter 1, The Avenger Part 1. Andrew and the Armada stationed themselves at the Rosy Galaxy a month after ending the war with the Rayons. The Armada is at the end of their 1-week rotating R&R and Andrew has just arrived from planet Los Angeles using the hops. Ellie and Solly have left to take care of the quarterback project and some other pending projects in the Norset and Talanout galaxies. Lacey have left with Maria's group to go around and meet the other species with her commercial and diplomatic contingent. David was kept busy fixing the problems the war has caused, including dealing with the spies and the new technologies. He had to rearm and retrain their military with the help of Captain Solis and Commander Trend. He had to create institutions because the hops have made their planets much closer than before. He provided long-term change targets to take into account the reality of longer lifetimes. At Andrew's bridge, Savadav, John and Junie appeared. Andrew stood to greet them. Greetings, Three Kings. As soon as he said this, Roger and Eric, Linda and Lachine appeared. How was your trip back home, Junie, John? It was really a welcome respite. I brought 50,000 of my people to serve in the Armada. Junie said. After my work with Linda and Lachine at the Rayon Arena, I never realized I missed the Queen so much. They all laughed. Roger saluted. Boss, I think we should make plans of heading out. Let's just leave 5 ships here. To where, may I ask? Why don't we move over to about 8 BLY from here, far from the hop line, and recon the place? Look, we're not wanted on Earth or anywhere else, and the whole area is secure with their own armada. The galaxies are all busy doing their own thing. Eric said. I do feel kind of unwanted. You're absolutely right, Eric. Lachine said, and Linda smiled and nodded in agreement. You guys must be kidding me. I just joined your group and now you all feel unwanted? Savadav exclaimed, and the group laughed. Manpat, Sarudam and Romita appeared. Greetings Manpat, Sarudam, Romita. We were starting to feel unwanted and unloved. Maybe there is something you need that will make us feel important? Andrew asked. Hi guys. Sarudam here is from Romita's dimension. Manpat then went on to introduce the others until Olive took over to introduce John and Savadav. They came over here to provide a very important information and present a very important problem to some very important people who will provide the very important solution to the very important problem. Manpat said. And to learn from the best in the business. Romita added. That's way too many important in one sentence if you ask me. Don't get us all excited, Manpat. Sarudam, what's up? Andrew nodded at Sarudam. Sarudam started, okay. Right after we dealt with the Tosbans, I took the task of laying the Tosban ships all the way to the middle galaxies, laid the lines to connect the Inki, Norset, Max, Marinti and other species. Then half of the group under Commander Skamanak, our Skamanak, went right through towards the Maccabee galaxies, bringing with him Norsets, Inkis and Max, while Romita dealt with the Norset and Inki issues. Midway he encountered a very large group of ships, 40,000 strong, various sizes, 3 different species. They passed our hop ship, surrounding it. But since they could not see the hop ship, which was regularly cloaked, they went past it. Skamanak sent out drones after the group, to tail it and send intel back. After sending 4 more drones, which means that they went to an area 1 to 1.5 BLY away. The group stopped. By that time, the hop ships have already reached the Maccabee galaxies. Skamanak could not deal with the issue because he had to deal with the Maccabee issue first. At that timeline, the Emperor has not risen, so he just made sure he does not. He simply assassinated the Emperor, his key leaders and personnel. He could not get any Armada leader to deal with the 40,000 ships, so he requested a group of scout ships from the Norsets and Inkis. And? Andrew followed. Nothing yet. So Sarudam figured, okay, you're smart enough, Sarudam, that the same issue could exist in this dimension. Actually, Maria and Blair advised these two to come over since our adventures did not include these. Basically, let the guys here deal with it, then they can do what you did or not do. But I told them to pass by the Council and Simultaman for some guidance. Manpat said. I just got a communication from the Mac and Armada Council and they said to show understanding. Olive said. Now that's new. At least we don't have to be nice, just show understanding. Andrew said, and they all laughed except for Sarudam and Romita. Boss, so we could be not nice and still be understanding? Linda asked. Sure. But understanding means appreciating the problems or issues, although you are not bound to be nice. You know, the Council should stop this one-word instructions and be more specific. Olive corrected Andrew, it was 2 words, show understanding. Before it was, be nice, also 2 words. Even if it is 2 words, I'd say it is still annoying. Eric said. And they told me to tell you to wait for Poolm and Chilla, then Gantley and Bastgar. They want this as a joint adventure. Pulm will meet us at the intercept point. Here near this Hop's ship position. The others will arrive there in 20 days. Olive said. Olive, can you tell Tonin to wrap up his work with the Varst London, fly over here so we can leave together? Yes, Andrew. He is scheduled to finish in 2 days. But he would be going back to the Norset Galaxies for his 2-week R&R. Then the Norset Council wanted to let him take 200 newbie ships when he gets back. This will delay his return by a month. Boss, I will take 50 ships to recon the area. Roger interjected. I will move my science ships towards the intercept point to lay down the quarterbacks. Bakamina added. Andrew nodded and she disappeared. I would like to bring these two with Roger so they can learn. That is if you two are up to it. Junie said. How else will we learn? Jond asked. Absolutely correct, Jond. Come on. Savadav said. Okay, Roger, can you make room for the 3 kings? Andrew asked. Sure, but you two stay at Junie's ship. I think you should take 150 ships, Roger. Take Jenny with you. Right, boss. They disappeared. Boss, I would like to recon their origins or home galaxies. I would like to take 50 ships and see where they came from and what their issues are. We would need some hop ships. Olive, what's Tony doing? Eric asked. He's in his ship. He said wait a minute. Olive said. Tony appeared carrying a baby. Hi guys. Carrie, say hello to Uncle Andrew, Uncle Eric, Uncle Manpat, Uncle Sarudam, Auntie Linda, Auntie Lachine, Auntie Olive and Auntie Romita. He waved the baby's hand. They all said hello to the baby and forgot all about Tony. She looks like your wife, so pretty. Lachine commented. I think she got Tony's hands. Linda added. And Tony's feet. Eric said and they all laughed. Okay, I heard about the mission an hour ago while giving my princess here a bath. Look guys, 5 months ago I started to deploy hops to form 2 entirely different lines, one from the Talonot galaxies and one from the Inti galaxies all the way to the Maccabee 1st and 4th colonies galaxies. Both are now a 4-ship line with 10 TPs per ship. Olive, please show them a hologram please so they can understand. Olive showed the 2 routes of the hop ships. And these are all operational now? Andrew asked. Yes, medium-level traffic. And the hops personnel did not report on an armada crossing their path, I mean not for 600 MLY. That only shows that their starting point would be around this area here. Olive, tell Roger about this please. Eric said. Tony's daughter started to cry and then peed in her cloth diapers. Tony seemed shocked and unsure on what to do. Layla, honey, Carrie peed on me. Tony shouted. The group laughed. I have to go, higher duty calls. He disappeared. He can solve intergalactic logistics problems but at a loss on how to deal with a peeing baby. Linda said. That's Tony for you. Eric added. Olive, are our hop ships supplied with drone probes? Andrew, each hop ship has 100 drone probes that they deploy once in a while or as needed. Do you want me to tell those near the area to deploy the probes? Yes, Olive, tell those hop ships around the area up to 2 BLY area, from here to here, but tell them to deploy towards these areas here, distance them at 500 MLY. Yes, Andrew. But your hands point to about 5 BLY in hop distance. 5 BLY then. Ellie said don't go anywhere without her. She will be here in our present position in 5 days. Linda, Lachine, why don't you two go with Eric? Take 150 ships. Linda and Lachine smiled. Good. Very good, boss. Eric said and nodded at the 2. The 3 disappeared. Pulm appeared. Hi Andrew, good to see you again. I have 600 ships and I will be pulling more than 1,000 of our largest old ships to be deployed as hop ships. I will be making an arc route towards the intercept point coming from the Marsan side of the galaxies. This will put me right across the target ships towards your positions, that is, if they are there at all. From there I will have 100 ships lay out the remaining 800 or so ships that will be left along the way to the Norset galaxies. I will reach the intercept point in 42 days. Chilla will be with me. She is at her command ship at this time. Pulm, if you encounter them, just stay put and just let 100 ships go on ahead and pull the hops. Roger will be in the area so make sure you link up with him. Andrew said. Andrew, I'd like to go down and meet David. You know. Of course, Manpat. Sarudam, Romita, we'll all go downside for you guys to meet David. Olive, can you tell Solis and Tren to meet us at David's? David was at the king's office in the main palace. Greetings, Uncle Andrew. David said as he stood from behind his desk to shake Andrew's hand. Andrew introduced Manpat, Romita and Sarudam. David shook their hands as well. Olive appeared beside Andrew. At this point, the 2 committee members sitting across David's table excused themselves and David nodded. Then Solis and Trent appeared near the door. They both saluted and approached Andrew. "Sir, you called?" Solis asked. "Yes, Captain, Commander, I want you to meet Sarutam and Romita." "Yes, from the other dimension." "Good to meet you," Solis said as she shook their hands. Trend followed. Trend looked at Sarutam from head to toe and back to the head. "You look exactly like our Sarutam." "He does," Manpat said as he laughed a quiet laugh. "So Solis, Trend, how are the Rosie military doing?" "Sir, the training is widespread. They have a lot of troops, more than 4 million. Trend is in charge of introducing the use of our field weapons, and while I took over teaching ship operations. Captain Tram, a Mac, and his group are teaching tagging, while Commander Sinbad, a Norset, is teaching drone operations and strategy. They all go through several classes on our operating procedures and field practices. The medical teams are all in our ship studying. We also identified and selected the first 100,000 of their shock troops, and they have started training under Captain Segundo and his group. What the Rosie Commando operatives lack is the central intel support our ships provide and our implants. Now when we provided them with these things, they adapted quickly to the routines and performed extremely well. They are natural at these sorts of operations. Sir, we have people from Portland, like Captain Segundo, helping us in the organization to be able to carry out their training according to Armada standards. There are literally hundreds of teaching groups. And we have decided to address only the first 1 million in the first 6 months. Then we move on down the line. In the meantime, we instituted remote training and validation to ease the load for the next million. Trend added. Most of the commanders in our dimension doing the training came from the Armada University in Portland. Father showed us around the planet and we decided to create one whole planet devoted to training Armada commanders. Romita said. Solis and Trend move very fast and my people are playing catch up. It's unbelievable how they do things and how our military has changed in the last few weeks. David commented. So how's the kingdom, King David? I know you want to know about the enemy, Uncle Andrew. I am sorry, but I had to execute the leaders, including the Queen and her 2 sons. I issued a king's order to forgive almost 96% of the enemy combatants, complete and unconditional pardon. The rest are awaiting trial. It really hurts to do these trials since most of these are people who we personally know and are friends with. You call Andrew uncle? Manpat asked. Ellie started it. And I guess I am comfortable with it. But don't you ever call me uncle, King Manpat. It hurts to forgive. But it also makes you feel okay to move on. Uncle Andrew, Uncle Rogan and Father showed us that one of the best qualities of our species is the ability to understand, forgive and even sacrifice to help our enemy who we had to forgive. David looked at Romita and, actually, in my case Ellie told me so or I will get it. They all laugh. You do know you can appear before Ellie and see and talk to her, right? Andrew asked. She does appear before me every day without notice, but I am just too busy to appear before her. I started asking permission and she ended up making me appear less to my advantage. Smart. But did you consider if in your absence her appearance to you increased? Romita asked. David looked at her. You know, you're absolutely right. Ellie is really smart, she can see right through me. You know, David, at first I left the kingdom to my 2 sons. Now the 2 are all over the place and in some other dimension. Now it's the committee that does the managing. What I did was that I included other species, like the humans, Norsets, Macs and Inkies in the committee, and they perform really well. I would have to create a good succession system and consider what you did with your kingdom. I am looking at the Inki and Mac systems and I think my people can adopt to these easily. Normally, you know how it is, there are the family pressures and intrigues. Now they are all afraid after the executions and they don't know how much I know from the mind readings the Armada did. And may still be doing up to now. I'd say that is a funny twist of things. Andrew said. I agree, Uncle Andrew, much to my advantage. David grinning. Ellie appeared and saluted. I know you are all here, so I came over to see what's up. I know, David, we just saw each other this morning. Nothing's up if that's what you mean. Andrew said as he proceeded to introduce Romita and Sarutam. Good to meet you guys. Sir, Rebecca has made the Talonot DGs operational and the brothers have started to go out to those dimensions identified to be off in human development. This means the Armada could not be formed the usual way, so they would have to start from the Talonot side just as you did with Romita's dimension. They prioritized those dimensions where Romita was not killed. Your sons have a very exciting life, Uncle Manpat. David said. Yes, and I thought my life was exciting. Manpat added and did not seem to mind David calling him uncle. Andrew explained to David about Scaminax Intel and their new mission. But I will leave 5 ships under Solis and 5 under Trend for the training and medical work. I am sorry Solis, Trend, you would have to stay. Rogan is complaining that with all the dimensions, his training staff has been decimated and we would have to rely on Armada personnel to do the job. Sir, we can ask the Inky training academies for support. Tren suggested. Olive send a request to Roden. Andrew said and Tren nodded. Sir, the Macs are sending 200 ships, all newbies. I will meet them near the Crimson planet, then we'll proceed to your position. They have 10 supply ships with them with more than 25,000 quarterback modules that we can install on our ships and on the hop ships all the way to Billy's. I have sent a group through the hops to bring a few quarterback modules for Bakamina. Ellie said. So that's why you told us not to move without you. Andrew said. Yes, and I know you thought of something else. Andrew laughed. I don't mind if you pass by my office, Ellie. Of course, you know I will pass to see you. I could have just asked Uncle Andrew to move on and meet with them somewhere else, but I told them to wait for me. Ellie had to explain. I don't know about that, I can't read your mind, you know. Hey, don't get us involved in your lover's quarrel. Andrew interjected. They all laughed. What are these quarterback modules? Manpat asked. Let me explain, Ellie. It started when I told Olive to move one Tosban ship from our rear position to a position in front of the tall Dugnogs. Soon after, Ellie and her wizards made it an Armada secret weapon. A quarterback module will enable a ship or any hop ship to move one ship 90 mly away to a position near it, then move it again 90 mly further away on a second throw using our TP technology. Of course, she had to modify and correct some of the TP problems this capability entailed. Eric and the Norsets are now figuring out moves and combination moves for our ships and hop ships to execute when needed. This is an Armada-only technology and would not be made available for non-Armada use. That means we can travel great distances in less than an hour. And the enemy wouldn't know what hit them. Or we can just move the enemy around. You're really good, Ellie. Good job. Thank you, Uncle Manpat, but as you know, these things happen because of team effort. I know, Uncle Andrew, you're the idea man. Thank you, Ellie. Andrew nodded. If they sent 40,000 ships, that means you would be engaging more, maybe up to 100,000 ships at their home galaxies. This could be dangerous. Don't worry, we have engaged this much in the Maccabee affair. Wait, come to think of it, we still have more than 80,000 enemy ships in storage. I wonder what Tony is doing about this. He's busy with his baby girl. It's a good thing the girl looks like Layla, Ellie commented. The staff told me the food is ready for us. Come on, Ellie, let's move over to the dining hall. Go ahead, I have to run. I will see you guys in 5 days. This is a nice palace and your office back there was huge. Thank you, Uncle Manpat. I have never worked like this in my whole life. It's a good thing Ellie helps me out with some problems. She tells me of similar situations and the solutions to the problems. Good. That means you and Ellie would be doing things together. After lunch, David toured them around the planet and to their vacation home where he hoped Ellie would agree to live in. 5 days later, Ellie arrives with the newbies. Andrew added more than 100,000 of the newly trained Rosie military to the newbies. He wanted to leave but decided to give Ellie 1 day to be with David, and also because the Rosies were slow to deploy. Ellie did stay for a day with David, spending her time with him even as he worked. Ellie, do you notice how my people look at you? I see them so amazed and happy. I feel them amazed and happy when they see you. David told Ellie, who sat beside him, facing him, while he was behind his large desk. Because I'm blonde? Yes, that too, but it's because of what you did. You appeared to us as an ordinary woman who did extraordinary things. Then they find out you are one of the VIPs in a legendary intergalactic armada, that you hold so much power and technology. But through all this you behaved simply, never proud, and showed you cared so much for our people and the other species. To them you are God-sent, a goddess, to bring joy to the kingdom and a long and prosperous life. Their long-awaited queen, after I marry you, of course. Thank you, David, but I have not agreed to marry you yet. No, Ghost Ellie is in my ship doing science work. The couple spent the rest of the day at Ellie's ship. Ellie wanted to let David know what she was up to. Before evening fell, Gantley and Baskar beamed to Andrew's bridge. They brought 600 Inky ships and 100 Marinti ships. Baskar asked Olive to tell Ellie to bring David over to meet him. This is Emperor Baskar, this is David. Ellie introduced Baskar to David. Baskar showed extreme enthusiasm in meeting David. Baskar is the best actor in the galaxies, so make sure you don't fall for anything Baskar does or says. Andrew said to David. All my people are excited and are awaiting your big day, Ellie, David. Baskar said. Ellie wanted to punch Baskar's face and she told him so telepathically. Baskar, I have not decided to marry him yet, she said with a smile, even if David knew what she told Baskar. Bhaskar laughed and said, "To the Marantais, you two are already together and married. There is no other outcome that they can see happening." Ellie smiled but wanted to kick him. Gantley and the group were just smiling away at Ellie. The next day, right after breakfast, Ellie left the Rosy Galaxies with the Armada. 32 days after leaving the Rosy Galaxies, Roger arrived within beaming range of the 40,000 ships. The ships were not all armed ships. Some were transport, supply and repair ships. John told him that the ships were scattered in several solar systems and several large ships were near a planet. There were several groups around planets. Jenny, Junie, John and Savadav beams into Roger's bridge. "Hello, Three Kings." "Jenny," Roger said. "John, tell the ships to hide in gas planets. There are 4 around the area, tell them to hide themselves there." "Yes, Roger." "Do you want to send out the drones into the ships?" "Yes, send them all out. Send several to the planet near the big ships. Tell the hackers to prepare. The ships are moving closer and will park in the gas planets within the hour." After a few minutes, several hologram screens appear around them. They could see 3 alien species in different ships. "Send the hackers out, all of them," Roger said after deciding the hackers would be safe in their work. What caught their eye was the screen showing alien commanders on the ground. "I sure want to know what they are talking about. They seem to be waiting for something or somebody," Savadav said. "You will have your translators within 10 minutes, John said. "They are replenishing their supplies from the planet." "Wait, there are Macs on one of the screens," John added. Roger moved near the screen. "This seems to be an isolated Mac planet. John, send out all our taggers to this planet. ID the Mac locations, tag them and leave. I want to beam them in when it's safe." 20 Maccabee ships are approaching at their rear group of ships. "I believe the ships are headed for the planet below. Send the taggers and hackers to those ships," Roger said. "Aren't we going down to investigate?" Savadav asked. "No, this is going to be a long operation. I would suggest we head over to the mess hall before it really gets busy," Jenny said. "I agree," Roger said. "Come on," Junie told Savadav, who was perplexed. He could not understand how they can eat at this point in the encounter. "Come on, Savadav, all these activities make me hungry," John said as he put his arm on Savadav's shoulder. They took their time eating. Roger cracked most of the jokes and put Savadav at ease. After more than an hour, they are all back in Roger's bridge. "Anything new?" Roger asked John. "The Maccabee commanders have gone down and have started meeting with the alien groups." The group could see the meeting right in front of them. The Maccabees have a translator while the aliens also have translators for each of the species. "What are they talking about?" Jenny asked. "The Crimson is sending their language knowledge to you now. You can understand the 3 alien species in a few minutes. The Crimson is adding the Maccabee language for John and Savadav, since they do not know the language yet. The Maccabee commander's name is Sardi. The large black alien is a Portison, the brown one is called a Runikamuse, while the third one is a Tom hybrid. The only difference is that these Toms are taller and they call themselves Laninos," John said. "They do look like the Toms. Let's call them Runis, Portus and Lannis," John said. Roger looked at John and, "You beat me to it, John." "Hey, I thought of that too," Junie said. "Next time, I'll be quicker," Savadav said, and they all laugh. The Porta commander's name is Sanit, while the Runi commander is named Bunum and the Lani is called Gamto. Trunties are reading their minds as we speak. They are also spread out reading all their Armada commanders. The Macs agreed to place second to the Trunties and they left them to read the top brass while the Macs read the lower officers. John said. "How many plasma cannons do you have for us?" Sanit asked. 500 ship-based. "We can install them in your ships at your hangars, 1 per ship. It will take a few days. Once you finish with the operations, I will tell my ship to fly over back to your galaxies to transfer the fusion technology for your people," Sardi said. The Trunti reading Sardi's mind says the Maccabee is from another dimension while his ships are from the old emperor we removed. They have a large settlement in one planet 600 MLY further out and they are rebuilding their forces. We have all the intel on their planet from the mind reading. John explained. "We can wait. The Rivens are not going away," Bunum said, and the 3 laughed a loud laugh. The Riven is like an upright creature with an ant-like face, no antennae, but covered in dark brown exoskeleton. Its arms are leathery black with 6 fingers like extensions. "This is the image in his head," John said. The group saw a woofing-like creature with ant-like head and long black arms but dark brown exoskeleton-covered legs. John continued. "A Trunti reading Gamto's mind tells me that the Rivens attacked one of the outlying planets of the Portus and killed a lot of Portus. They also took a lot of slaves with them, over 1 million. The three are here to avenge the attack and get the slaves out. Roger, I have the Riven's location. I want to recon the area. Jenny said. Sure, as soon as our people are back, take 30 ships and head over to the Rivens. Make sure the drone probes are deployed so we can maintain direct communications. Jenny nodded. The Rivens are along the route Poolm and Chilla are taking so Jenny would see them. John said. Good. Jenny answered. Roger, I want to head over to the rogue Maccabee planet and nosy around. Junie said. I guess we really need to do this. Take 30 ships and John with you. Leave Savi here with me. Make sure you do not engage. You can bomb, tag, hack their systems, deploy our latest virus and read their minds. But don't engage. We'll wait for Andrew to decide on the issue. Deploy the drone probes along your way so you can tell us what's up. Understood. I will wait for our people to come back. The Trunties report that the war is a setup. The Riven attack was instigated by the Maccabees. The Maccabees told the Rivens that they can attack the Portus without any issues and they did. It was actually the son of the king who was a hothead that led the invasion. The king was really against the invasion. At the same time the Maccabees instigated the Lannis and Runies to help the Portus wage war on the Riven in exchange for the technology the Maccabee were going to give to them. Actually, the Runies wanted to take over one of the Porta planets and they asked the Portus to give it to them in exchange for protection and the neutralization of the Riven aggression. The Portus would be getting the technology and they figured a planet gained for a planet given out plus technology and alliance seemed to be a good move. The Maccabees started all these so the Armada formed could do their work of looking for our Armada and kill the personalities. The Runies and the Lannis had an agreement already with the Maccabees in exchange for the fusion technology and for a faster star drive engine in the future once they start to go after the Armada. The Portus and Rivens would be the losers in this Maccabee expedition. John explained. It seems the Maccabees are looking for a more longer-term solution to their Armada problem. Please tell the boss about this. They already know. John said. I think we need to get the dimension the Maccabee came from and solve their issues from there so they would not be able to send interlopers again into our universe. John, tell Bill about this. The Trunties have the address and I am communicating the issue to Billy so they can act on it immediately. They continued to watch for more than an hour, getting updates on the mind reading. They found out that the Runies and Lannis intended to throw the Portus against the Rivens to end up with a weaker Porta military. They also intended to put the Portus in the front of their intended attack on the Armada the Maccabees want destroyed. The plot is getting more and more complex. Savadav said. I agree. And we need to understand the actions we need to take to neutralize the other dimension. Roger said. John, please allocate those who have come back to my ships so I can leave ASAP. Jenny said. Same here. Junie said. Just then Billy appeared. He was flanked by Rabina and Mila. Roger acknowledged Billy, Rabina, and Mila. Then he introduced John and Savadav to them. Hi guys. I got the intel and we will respond immediately. I would have to pull some people out of the other dimensions to deal with this. Billy said. You're getting short of people? Roger asked. No. We have allied with 18 Maccabee dimensions so far. I intend to get people from these guys to help us deal with the target dimension this way they get more experienced. Roger, do you want us to move into the other dimension where these aliens are also engaged? Mila asked. You're quick. If you have the manpower. Sure. And tell us how it turned out. Earlier Eric arrived near the Lannis homeworld. Based on the intel Roger's people sent to them they realized the Runies and Portus were in the same large spiral galaxy spanning 40 MLY further out from the Lannis galaxy. Linda, Lex, why don't you guys move over to the Rooney galaxy and nosy around? I will stay here and gather intel on the Lannis. Eric said and the two nodded and disappeared. Kristen appeared. Eric, did you want to deploy the hackers? Yes, tell them to deploy. Please show their deployment grids. His hackers have always been aggressive and were always ahead of the queue. Our forward drone probes show that the Lannis have 22 planets in 18 solar systems. Telecom traffic shows they have 5 planet centers and one of them would be the capital planet. 80% of our hackers went down to these 5 planets. They have more than 20,000 ships near the planets and in some outposts 2 LY away. Several holos appeared across the bridge. Speed and weaponry? Based on Roger's intel, they have standard laser cannons with some missiles using solid fuel propulsion. The Maccabees promised them plasma cannons and are now installing 1 cannon per ship, up to 500 ships. They also promised to transfer an old fusion technology to them. Their ships travel at a very slow 5 LY per day. Eric, I would suggest you take a break and retire for 8 hours at least. Eric looked at Kristen and he realized Kristen may have seen things in his body he may not actually feel. Yes, I do see that you need to sleep, Kristen said as if she read his mind. Okay, fine. He stood and went to his stateroom. The next day, Linda and Lachine are in your bridge, Eric. Kristen told him as he got out of his bed. I will tell them to wait at the mess hall. Kristen continued. Good morning, ladies. Eric greeted as he sat beside Lachine. A cup of coffee appeared in front of him. Linda started, the Roonies have more than 28 planets in 23 solar systems in the same spiral galaxy as the Portus but on the other side. We have deployed our hackers several hours ago mostly in their major planets. The Portus have less number of planets at 14 in 10 solar systems with 2 major planets. We will have preliminary intel in a few minutes. Roger's report said the war was a setup. The reason is not apparent yet, but some things are clear. First, the Portus are the least advanced of the civilizations with the least number of ships. The 2,000 they sent with the Armada comprise half of their fleet. The Roonies seems to be the biggest with more than 40,000 ships, 20,000 of which they sent with the Armada. The Roonies seem to be the most advanced among the three. Linda and I went with the hackers on the ground to nosy around. Lachine added. It's not that we did anything constructive. We did see their palace and I saw the Rooney royal family. Lachine saw the Porta palace with the king and his family. What is clear also is that the Portus have never had any slaves in the planets except the ones they received from the Lannis and Roonies. The slaves were given to them as an offer of peace and so that the Portus may be comfortable joining the alliance. We noted that some of the slaves are Rivens. And this may be the reason for the Rivens to attack the Portus. The reason was planted onto the Portus. Then we found out that they do not even know how to treat slaves as slaves. The slaves are not really slaves since they have more freedom to live in a separate planet. Almost all of the Portus do not have slaves and even the royal family does not have slaves. Now the Roonies are different. They are very aggressive and extremely militarized. They have several species as slaves including the Rivens, a small number of Macs and Tippets. Their slaves are mostly a Tom-like creature, lankier although smaller by a foot on the average and do not look very smart. These could be the original Lannis while the newer Lannis are smarter. Linda explained. My theory is that the Portus were afraid and opted to ally with the Roonies and Lannis so they would not get into a shooting war with the two. If Roger's intel is right, that the Maccabees instigated the Riven attack on the Portus, it would be logical to assume that the Roonies and Lannis are in on the plan because they seeded the Porta society with the Riven slaves. A weaker Porta civilization would be more beholden to the Roonies and Lannis. Lachine said. Kristen, can you give us a briefing on what the hackers have so far? Kristen appeared. The Lannis are a very aggressive species although less militarized as the Roonies. The Lani King is particularly aggressive and is in the process of increasing his military capabilities with more ships and men. They have more than 38,000 ships including the 18,000 they sent with the Armada. They have almost the same slave groups with them as the Roonies have and the Norsets believe they actually trade slaves between themselves. The two have been allies for thousands of years and they more or less control the two galaxies they are in. This long association was a normal cause for the two to want to control the Portus. I think your assessment is spot on, Lex, Linda. Roger's report also mentioned the Rivens and the Portus would be the losers in this adventure. Their expedition to attack the Rivens may be so that their aggressive military can blow off some steam. We would probably need 10 days to bomb and tag these people. Eric said. That's about right before Andrew arrives with the gang. Linda said. Junie needs the same amount of time at the Maccabee rogue planet and Jenny would need that time also to deal with the slaves and the Riven royalty and military. Lachine said. Poolm and Chilla would probably split with one group dealing with the Maccabee rogue planet and one group with Jenny. Remember Gantley and the Marantais are meeting up with Andrew so we would have a lot of ships in the area in about 10 days. Linda said. Poolm and Chilla have split their armada so Chilla can fly over to us directly with 200 ships. She will arrive here less than a day before Andrew's armada arrives. Kirsten said. Exactly 10 days later, Andrew and the armada arrived. A few hours earlier, Chilla arrived with 200 ships. They all located themselves within the gas planets right between the Lannis and Rooney homeworlds per Eric's instructions. Eric, Linda and Lachine beamed to Andrew's bridge where Chilla, Manpat, Sarudam, Romita, Bastgar, Ellie and Gantley were waiting. Eric started, Boss, all the royalty, military officers and main leaders have all been tagged. All their ships have been bombed. All the personnel in the ships have been tagged. Ground targets have all been mapped out and assigned, for the Roonies, Lannis and Portus. Just say the word and we will execute. Wait, we have to joke around first. Andrew said. I have been here for hours and nobody has delivered a good one yet. Chilla complained and they all laughed. Olive appeared and, a DG is opening 40 mly from the capital planet between the Lannis and the Rooney homeworlds about 10 mly from our position. Another is opening 5 mly away. Olive sounded the ship alarm, something she rarely does primarily because it annoyed Andrew. Get all our people back to the ships. Tell all the ships to execute the primary directive on all our people on the ground, now please. Andrew said. All our people are back. Olive answered. All ships power down and shields up. Andrew told Olive. All ships are powering down, all shields are up. 2 more DGs opened, one opened next to each of the first 2. Kristen, power down our drones. Eric said. Eric, why are you whispering? Ellie asked him. You don't have to whisper. Linda added. The group laughed at Eric. Olive, beam 100 drones into the other dimension. 100 drones are away. The Crinsons have a fix on the address. The Norsets will be deploying into them across 1.2 bly of space. Within minutes the drones were sending images from the other side. Olive produced 20 of the most critical locations. They could see more than 2,300 ships in 4 delta formation. Those at the point of the delta, about a dozen per point, are larger Maccabee-style Vinta ships, about a quarter the size of our regular Armada-class ship. The rest are smaller and older version of Vintas. Humans and Macs on board, some Inkeys, Maccabees and Marantais. None have the Crinson or Trunties so they are regularly cloaked. After an hour, the size of the DG opening has grown to more than the size of their ships. Olive said. They are going to fly in. Eric observed. After a few minutes, the ships began their flight through the DG. Andrew and the Armada kept quiet, just observing a cloaked invasion unfold before them. Do you want me to send hackers to the ships, Andrew? Are their shields up? Andrew asked. No, they seem to understand that the Lannis and Rooneys cannot see them. Send the ghost operatives. After a few minutes, the ghost operatives say it's safe to beam in, Andrew. Olive said. Send our hackers out. Sir, I would suggest we send our bombers and taggers as well. Ellie said. Okay, send them all out. And I thought I was your uncle, Ellie. The group laughed. After 2 hours all the invading ships have moved out through the DG and reformed into 2 groups. Now there are 1,220 on the side of the Lannis and 1,150 on the side of the Rooneys. All cloaked. Now they are moving to formation near their targets. Olive said and continued. Taggers will be done in 10 minutes. The bombers will be done in 5 minutes. The ships will finish reforming and moving to their target positions in 30 minutes. The invading ships are sending cloaked operatives into the Rooney and Lonnie ships. The operatives are putting bombs on the Rooney ships and Lonnie ships, 1 group at the bridge and 1 group at the engine area. The hackers are telling me they have our old Mac data system. They have no Norsets on board. They have not met the Norsets. Our people are now starting to download all the data from the cloaked ships. They will be done in 20 minutes. Ellie said. The ships are deploying their Jintas towards the planets. After 30 minutes all the ships have moved to their attack locations. The ships grouped themselves in groups of 30 ships and deployed 5 mly away from each other nearer the target planets. All our people are back. Olive announced. Suddenly all the ships uncloaked and started firing their plasma cannons onto ground positions. All the Lonnie and Rooney ships started to be blown up at their engine and bridge locations. The Jintas earlier deployed started the ground attacks. They uncloaked before they fire their plasma cannons towards the ground positions. Kristen appeared. Eric, all the Lonnie and Rooney royalty are all dead. All their tags have been destroyed. All the bridge officers of the Rooney and Lonnie ships are dead. I would like to watch for a while. Andrew said. The ground attack will end in 2 hours. Bombardment from space will end within the hour. Olive said. Why don't we head over to the mess hall before things get really busy? Manpat suggested. I agree. Sarudam said excitedly and the group laughed. Wait, are the DGs still open? Ellie asked. Yes, Ellie, they all are. Send out a Lego ship with our top ghost operatives. Ellie looked at Andrew. I agree, Olive, send out a Lego ship, half of them ghosts. Tell them to bring a lot of drone probes. Yes, Andrew. They will deploy within the hour. Olive said. Boss, we still have Vintas in our ships that can fit through. I think we have a few Crinsons that are small enough to fit with the Vintas. Eric suggested. Olive, how many Vintas can we deploy? Andrew looked at Olive. Easily 60 within the hour, Andrew. Okay, send them all out, full complement. Who wants to be on point? I'd like to go. Linda said. Andrew looked at the rest. I like to go with Linda. Savadav said. Okay, Savadav, you can go. Linda, you take the lead. Bring a lot of drone probes and attack drones. Linda nodded and disappeared with Savadav. Shall we go now? Manpat asked. Andrew stood and the rest of the group started to move to the mess hall. After an hour the group was back at Andrew's bridge. Eric and the others beamed back to their ships, leaving Manpat, Sarudam, and Romita at the bridge. Andrew, I have beamed the Lego ship under Captain Keelmill to the other side. They are now deploying their drone probes. The other ships have beamed Linda's group to the other side. Our ships can deploy 60 more Vintas all ready to go on your order. Lachine appeared. Boss, I would like to go over to Billy and get them to investigate from the Maccabee side. Good idea, Lachine, but you don't have to go. Let's just tell Billy to get into their dimension from his side and move over to Linda from there. Lachine takes 60 Vintas over to the other side and help Linda. I would like to go with Lachine. Sarudam said. Sure, Sarudam. Chilla appeared. I have sent word to Billy. Lachine and Sarudam beamed out. Roger appeared. Boss, a DG opened near the 40,000 ships and around 3,000 ships flew in and fired directly at the Roonies, Lannis, Portus and enemy Maccabee ships. The attacking armada has mastered cloaking and decloaking attack routines that the Roonies, Lannis and Portus cannot counter. Apparently the Maccabees have not mentioned to these guys that there is such a thing as cloaking technology. When the Maccabees cloaked, more than 100 of the armada attacked them also cloaked. All the Maccabee ships will be destroyed in a few hours. The 40,000 ships will slowly be destroyed ship by ship in 2 days. Junies reported that another DG opened near his position at the Maccabee planet. Then about 800 flew in and immediately engaged the 300 Maccabee ships near the planet and bombed ground positions. Jenny reported that her position near the Rivens is quiet. Let me guess, you just sat back and watched. Yes, boss, it could be a private war with an armada from another dimension. And yes, I have sent probes under Junie and John with 20 Vintas to the other side. Once the fighting stops, I will send out our taggers and hackers. Concentrate on the leadership. Olive, tell Lachine, Linda and Sarudam to connect with Junie and John. Olive, I would like to talk to the armada leaders. Ellie appeared. We can beam them all in time boxes, but this will disrupt their operations and may endanger their people's lives in the battlefield. And would show our hand. I don't think it's a good idea, Uncle Andrew. Chilla butted in. I suggest we wait. We also need more intel from the other side. Olive, are the DG windows still open? Their DG windows are still open. That means communication is flowing into and from the other side. Andrew said. The Crimson sees several Jinta ships being beamed from the other side into the ship hangars. Some are being beamed straight to their target positions. They also saw some equipment containers being beamed in from the other side. Linda appeared. Boss, we are deploying all our drones and I have sent drones to connect with Junie and John. We are now moving to gas planets. Lachine is taking a position 60 mly away towards the Maccabees while Sarudam is moving towards Junie's position. There are 20 very large ships, more like stations, 3 times the size of Olive, and they are beaming in Jintas and equipment containers to the other side. So that's how they solved their logistics problem. Chilla said. All our ghost operatives have deployed to these large ship bases. I will send taggers and hackers once Julian tells us it's safe to send our people in. Holos will be available in an hour. Linda said. Olive floated several holos of various scenes inside the ships and their top commander is called the Avenger. This is his ship. He seems to command all the ships on this side, on the other side and at Roger's side of the battlefield. He is very familiar to me. They could see a middle-aged man, tall, wearing a white Armada uniform. His name patch showed Avenger. Several officers were behind him and he was constantly giving them orders as he paces around looking at the floating holoscreens. Andrew stood. How familiar? Very familiar. I have a very detailed record of his whole body. Andrew looked at Olive and Olive looked at him. Something they rarely do because both really do not need to. Look at his AI, it looks like Vicky. Ellie said. Andrew was quiet. The whole bridge became quiet. Who is this commander, Olive? He's your son, Adam. Nobody seems to move, as if they knew what Andrew knew a few moments ago. Andrew sat on his chair. I like to wait this out. His people's lives would be in danger if we disrupt their operations. His life might be in danger. The primary directive applies to him also. Olive, tell the ships to identify our Armada people from the other dimension. Ellie said. It will take a few hours for the detailed scans of each person. I will inform Linda and Roger about this task. The primary directive will apply also to our people from the other side. Do you have the Norsets report, Olive? Eric asked. In 10 minutes. Crimson is sending Adam's language to all of you now. Can we beam the Roonies and Lannis out of their ships to safety? Andrew asked. It will show our hand, Uncle. Ellie countered. I wouldn't suggest it, boss. Eric added. This is the reason why we are all in hiding. Chilla concluded. Andrew, all the ships are prepared on your order. But we can only do so when the shields of the Rooney and Lonnie small attack ships weaken down to 30%. The shields in all of their large ships are down. We can start with those. We would be risking their lives too closely. If we don't do anything, millions of Lonnie and Rooney lives would be lost. Andrew glanced at the hollow of his son giving orders. Uncle Andrew, sir, we cannot disrupt their operations. Ellie said. Some of the attacking Armada ships are losing their shields. Boss, if you really want to beam the Lannis and Rooneys out, wait until the engagement passes its peak, which I estimate to be in a few minutes. Eric said. Their personnel are being beamed out of the compromised ships by their good ships. Andrew could see that a few of the attacking Armada ships were being destroyed by the Lannis and Rooneys. With most of their large ships disabled, the Lannis and Rooneys were relying on their smaller attack ships to destroy the attacking Armada. After a few minutes,